Hey everyone, SalmonPink here. 2018 was an amazing year and I can't begin to express my enthusiasm regarding the events that happened in the world. Wait. You're telling me that last year wasn't 2018? It's 2018 now? This is supposed to be my top games of 2017? In that case, this video is pretty late, isn't it? Oh well, let's do it anyways. Honestly, 2017 was an outstanding year for gaming. From the long-anticipated release of the Nintendo Switch in early March, to the exciting announcements of E3, to the most downvoted comment in all of Reddit's history. Good or bad, there was never a dull moment for gaming in 2017. What is it now? I'll have you know, I actually planned to make this video for release by year-end of 2017. But I got surprisingly busy on my holiday break. I felt an even bigger urge to finish it now since Monster Hunter World just came out and I've nearly put in 30 hours just over the opening weekend. Anyways, back to the video for real this time. And you thought I'd make a video without including a JoJo reference. Time has resumed. So, in this video, I'd like to give recognition to the various games that made an impression on me in 2017. I could not recall a time during the year when I was not anticipating a game, or multiple games, and often had to delay playing some and a lot of them just because there were so many to keep up with. I honestly can't think of another year in recent memory that had so many memorable titles that had such a huge impact on me. And just before I get started, I'd like to note that everything expressed in this video are all my opinions. It's completely okay for you to disagree, and in fact, I'd like you to share what games you thought were your top games of 2017 in the comments. Or you could hit me up on Twitter at TheSalmonPink's too. My DMs are always open. Shameless plugs aside, let's get right into it. Number 10. Sometimes a game doesn't need to be all bells and whistles. Sometimes simple is best, and Puyo Puyo Tetris does that just right. Let me say that I suck at puzzle games, but I love Puyo Puyo Tetris. It's simple, pure, unfiltered fun. It has a charming, dorky, and silly single-player mode, but you should definitely play through it because I think you'll find yourself having a good laugh. The characters use Tetris battles and popping Puyos as an actual strategy to solve conflicts, problems, and just to blow off stress. And there's quite a bit to play through too. But where the game really shines is in the multiplayer modes. I found myself constantly going back with friends and cursing them for how much garbage they would dump on my screen. And that constant switching of the swap mode, where you switch between a Puyo board and a Tetris board every 30 seconds, just made all the frantic battles even more fun. I can't recall all the close games and rematches I had, and it's a wonderful game to play with friends. Just thinking about it makes me want to go back and play a bit more now. Number 9. The next game I need to talk about is one that I'd never thought I'd come back to. With all the chaos in the gaming journalism world about pretty much every game being a clone of Dark Souls, there's one game that truly stands out among them, and that's Nioh. Games often tell a brilliant and extravagant story, some fiction and some with hints of history, but when you get a mix of both fantasy and reality, now that's where the dreams and nightmares awaken. At first, I enjoyed the various stances and combat in a set piece of Sengoku period Japan, but the more I played, the more the lore of the world drew me in, and what I didn't know was that the plot was loosely based off of real events that transpired many years ago when William Adams, American sailor, arrived in Japan to be enlisted by Hattori Hanzo to defeat yokai that were arising during the Civil War. And honestly, the game's really good. It always had a fair level of difficulty with a bunch of great secrets and surprises, and I totally recommend it to anyone looking for a great adventure set in an even greater world. Number 8. Imagine, if you will, if someone told you that a 1920s cartoon-looking character in an indie platforming shoot-'em-up would end up surpassing most, if not all of the year's impressive AAA titles. Would you believe me? I wouldn't either. Well, imagine no more. That's Cuphead, folks. Wow, was I amazed when this game was released. And boy am I proud of the devs at Studio MDHR for putting Canada on the map with this one. Honestly though, This might be the piece of media, out of games, music, shows, movies, and everything else that caught me most off guard in 2017. I was astounded with every aspect of the game, from the individually animated scenes and the care and craft put into them, the incredibly unique art style, the wild and exciting soundtrack, and the simple concepts of gameplay backed by challenging and diverse level design, and the uniquely devilish charm that the game carries. There honestly isn't another game, no, experience out there like it. Oh, and how could we forget about the hardest tutorial of all time? Number 7. What do you get when you tell a story of humanoid androids traversing a gorgeous, haunting landscape in the name of humanity, and instead of falling into the pitfall of using standard post-apocalyptic media tropes, it uses its characters and plot to tackle some of the more interesting and relatively unexplored ideas of the genre? Nier Automata. Automata? At this point, I can't be sure. I've never actually played a Nier or Drakengard game in my life, but the moment Nier Automata popped on my radar, it caught my interest immediately. As alluded to in my intro, it certainly has gained my respect and praise. The game is rich with ideals and conflicting philosophies about what is good versus what is right, and for a game filled with android robots, it chooses to focus less on the concept of can a robot be human, and more on can a human be human, as it is the player who executes the actions that determine which of the multiple endings you can get, some good and some tragically morbid. The gameplay is pretty fantastic too. You get elements of 3D action RPG, sprinkled with Danmaku-like sections of both 2D and 3D space, where both enemies and bosses will send out waves of attacks in intuitive yet challenging patterns. And just to mention the bosses is where the game shines. The scale and execution of the boss fights is just extraordinary, and I found myself in awe at how marvelously grand and grotesque the boss fights were. And the game even has some sections where you get to play a retro, top-down shooting minigame that acts as hacking, which also gives the game a legitimate and quite honestly clever excuse to give its soundtrack an 8-bit cover of part of it to play during the minigame. All in all, I really enjoyed all that Automata had to offer, and I can say without a doubt that it will go down as a great example of games done right. Number 6. Anybody who knows me knows that I love Monster Hunter, and boy was I in for a surprise when I got around to playing Monster Hunter Double Cross. Now, I understand that a lot of hunters in the West are really upset at Capcom for not localizing it, but please hear me out for this one. Let's take a quick trip back to early March of 2017. Monster Hunter Double Cross comes out on the 3DS, region-locked and seeming like it would forever be out of my reach. I watched a ton of streams and videos and desperately tried to watch everything there was available to it at the time. At that point, I wasn't importing a Japanese 3DS just to play it. The end of May arrives. Capcom Japan makes a surprise announcement that nobody was expecting. They were doing an HD port of Monster Hunter Double Cross to the newly released Nintendo Switch. This was my chance. I ended up pre-ordering a physical copy of it, and after it released on the 25th of August, I waited a month and a week for it to be delivered, and despite having to start over since I couldn't carry over my save data from Monster Hunter Generations, despite not knowing the language the game is presented in, I dove right into the deep end. In the end, it seems like there will be no plans for Monster Hunter Double Cross to be localized, but having played it for just over 200 hours on the Switch, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it again if it was. I know it's in Japanese, but there are a ton of resources online to help out players like myself. Skill charts, key quest lists, weapon trees, menu translations. Yes, the first little while was tough to get used to, but after playing for a bit, I started recognizing the characters for a ton of the information in-game. But let me just talk about the game itself before this video becomes solely about Monster Hunter. The game on Switch runs very nice both docked and undocked, and it's so clean and clear. The colors are bright and vivid, and it clearly shows on the textures of the monsters and armor. The Brave and Alchemy styles are great additions to the game and give even more variety of choice available to the player. Oh, and G-Rank is tough. I don't remember 4 Ultimates G-Rank being as tough as this one. And even though it's nice that they brought back a couple more retro maps, the design problems with the original maps weren't addressed when bringing them over. But all in all, it's a great feeling to play this game. I've worked my way up to G rank with 2 other friends who also got the game, and we've been having an absolute blast. Now, with the release of Monster Hunter World, I haven't been playing as much Double Cross as I was before, but I still need to say that it's a great experience, especially on the Switch, even more so with friends. I love this series to death, and I can't exclaim enough how much I want the West to have this game. Here's hoping that sometime in the future, the West will see a true release of Monster Hunter on the Switch. Number 5. If there's one game that flew under the awards of 2017 radar, it's Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Such is the fate of December releases. Let me just say my criticisms with the game first. The English audio is terrible. I mean no disrespect to the voice actors, but I was repulsed at the sound of each of the characters in the English dub. It sounds like a chainsaw on a scratchy chalkboard. I really tried to handle it, and in the end there was only one redeeming factor in it, which was...
Forget me! Think you can take me! Don't forget me! Think you can take me! Don't forget me! Think you can take me!
Oh, yes, that, yes, I won't forget you. Everything else though, oh, that's where the magic begins. All of the characters are hilarious, and while the plot is your standard JRPG fare, the game has reminded me that it's the journey, not the destination, where our memories and friendships are made. Even for a salvager who has been given the opportunity of a lifetime, you'll find yourself enjoying the company of this odd yet lovable group of goofballs. The combat is nice and varied, but still has that classic Xenoblade feel to it. The world is gigantic, gorgeous, and bursting with life. And let me say, the game is just pretty. I found myself spacing out at some of the scenery because of how breathtaking it is, and there's just so much to discover. At this point, I'm very close to beating the game, but honestly, I just never want it to end. Number 4. You know I have to talk about Mario Odyssey. Oh my god, this game! I can't even begin to describe how incredible this game is. You want the next Mario 64? You want the next Sunshine? You want the next Galaxy? This is it, baby, and it couldn't feel better. Just look at this. Look at it. Ah! You want movement tech? Boom! You got it. You want amazing worlds? Take them. You want moons? Have all the moons. And just listen to the music. Tell me you aren't tapping your foot or humming along right now. Tell me you aren't. You just can't. I went into this game with reservations, thinking to myself, don't go in expecting too much or you'll be let down. Wow, was I ever glad to be wrong about that. And the more I played, the more that classic, infectious feeling came over me. Every time I started up the game, I felt like a kid on Christmas morning, and it just got better with every time I played it. Odyssey is class and style refined into a Mario game. You'll be doing yourself a disservice by not playing it. You know, we're all superstars. We're the ones who made it this far. So put a smile on that face, there's no time to waste. Let's do the Odyssey. Number 3. If I went back in time to the start of 2017 and told my past self that a visual novel would be one of my favorite games of 2017, I don't think I would believe me. I haven't played many visual novels or dating sims for that matter, since they don't usually appeal to me. But then I heard of DokiDoki Literature Club. But the best part was that going in, I knew close to nothing about the game, other than that it was amazing and it had a huge dark twist in it. So, one night I sat down and decided to play through it and find out for myself. I had a cup of hot chocolate, some cookies, my favorite sweatpants, and my best smile waiting for the girl I had hoped to romance during the game. Little did I know what would await me that night. 2 hours in, I thought to myself, maybe everyone was just saying all those things just to fool me. There's no way that a game this sweet and fun could take a dark turn. And then it happened. Snap! Now, in the interest of anyone watching who hasn't played the game or experienced it, I'll save any spoilers for the game for a separate video and instead talk about what I liked in general. But what I'll say here is that I was taken by surprise, and I'm quite glad I was. The character and scenario writing are just outstanding. At first, each of the girls seems like one of your standard anime character stereotypes, but the more you play, the more you discover that there are so many levels to their personalities and motivations. The overarching narrative is also very interesting, and the deeper I got into the game, the more I started piecing things together about what was actually going on. I can't praise this game enough. If the gaming industry is a bakery, then DokiDoki Literature Club has to be a fine, dark chocolate eclair made by an artisan baker, but with a super spicy ghost pepper inside. This game is very much worth your time, and I would highly recommend it. I have so much more to say about this game, but for now I'll end on a high note. Number 2. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Just the name alone sends shivers down my spine saying it. Exploring a vast, living, breathing world. Going on a wild adventure, taking multiple stops along the way. Cooking under a moonlit night, or taking shelter from the rain. What awaits me today leads me to tomorrow. Breath of the Wild is not just a game that you play. It's something that you experience. It is a visceral expression of our deepest emotions, and of our desire to explore the unknown. It's that same burning desire that keeps me coming back, just to see what else could be waiting for me out there. And when I think of Breath of the Wild, it reminds me of Reggie Fils-Aimé said during last year's E3. But in the end, it's not just where you take your game, it's where your game can take you. So let's go. Honorable mentions. Just before I get to my game in the number 1 spot, I'm going to list off a couple of honorable mentions which still impressed me during the year, and some of which just barely made it onto the list. A Hat in Time. You know, after playing Super Mario Odyssey, I thought that there couldn't be another 3D platformer released in 2017 that could capture my interest. But the more I saw of it, the more I felt drawn into it. I haven't played A Hat in Time yet, but I feel like I'm going to have to really soon because I've loved everything so far that I've seen about it. Monster Hunter Stories. This is a game I feel flew under everyone's radar this year simply because it had the Monster Hunter title attached to it. To put it simply, it's a super fun, lighthearted RPG that feels a lot like Pokemon. Heck, if you have a 3DS, go download the demo right now and give it a try. ARMS. I think I have a new favorite party game. ARMS is super fun, and it definitely shines when you're playing it with friends. Will it hit competitive levels like Smash? No. But does it need to? Absolutely not. It's a refreshing new arcade-like fighter on the Switch that is bursting with fun, and I love it. Horizon Zero Dawn. I still can't believe how cool this game is. Everything from the gameplay to the world and story just screams awesome. I would 100% recommend this for anyone with a PS4. Metroid Samus Returns. Samus is back, baby, and this is just one of the games she's returning in. Go play it! Ever Oasis. Another game that flew under the radar. It's one of Nintendo's new IPs, and I feel that it just came out at a bad time. It has elements of Animal Crossing and dungeon exploration with real-time combat, and has an adorable art style. Sonic Mania. The more I see of this game, the more I love it. Another game that I feel took the world by surprise. Everything from the soundtrack to the art style just captured my interest, and I've heard a ton of great things from my friends who have played it too. Number 1. There's one game that truly stole my heart in 2017. It has funk, it has groove, and it has style in spades. I could not put this game down. I spent so many nights losing hours by running through palaces, ranking up my social links, and just jamming out to the killer soundtrack. Seriously, this is just the coolest thing ever, and the gameplay checks out. You get the classic Persona balance of high school social sim during the day and carrying out justice under the wing of the night. The game sports a colorful cast of unique and interesting characters, all of which will elicit high levels of emotion from the player. I constantly found myself wanting to know more and more about this cruel and unfortunate world that the game takes place in. And the more I played, the more it came to me that the entire game is an allegory for the world we live in now. There are people out there with twisted desires who will extort the weak for your personal gain. That is why we have decided to steal those personal desires and make you confess your sins. Tomorrow, you will be a changed person. We hope you will be ready. Signed, the Phantom Thieves of Hearts. Life is tough, and a lot of the times it hits us when it hurts. We are prisoners of fate, held captive to a future that has been sealed in advance. This truly is an unjust game, and our chances of winning are almost none. But if this voice is reaching you, there may yet be a possibility open. The key to victory lies with the memories of your bonds, the truth that you and your friends grasp. Persona 5 embodies the will of rebellion. It tells of the ideals for a world that could be and not one that is. That we all deserve freedom from the chains of fate that bind us, that we truly are free, and that life will change. So, what do you guys think? I had a lot of fun writing about each of these games, and I didn't even cover everything that came out in 2017. But I'm definitely going to do individual videos on a couple of the ones mentioned here, and go into a much deeper analysis of them. But I want to know what your top games of 2017 were. Let me know in the comments or on Twitter, and let's chat about the games of 2018 that you are looking forward to or are already playing. Monster Hunter World has been my latest addiction, and I could use a couple of distractions for it. Until then, this is the Salmon Pink signing off. Have a good one.